We'll be back with more later. Now back to Geoff.
All right, thanks very much, Sydney. And congratulations to Intersloth later Among Us.
Hey y'all, Geoff Keighley here, and have you voted in the Game Awards yet? Because if you haven't, let me tell you why you should. Shouldn't. Okay, well in reality I don't care that much. What I really wanted to talk about was the Game Awards announced their nominees for the 2024 installment of their show, and people have been giving it mixed reactions, to say the least, online, and I guess I just kind of want to talk about if I think those reactions are justified, how it shapes up to earlier versions of the show, and whatnot. Just to be clear before we go into it, I have always not been the biggest on the nominees the Game Awards has picked for their shows, and really the winners they pick as well, but it might not be for the reasons you might think. I feel like this year, because Atlus has released, how many games this year? They had P3R, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, the episode I guess DLC for P3R, and Metaphor. I feel like people are expecting me to just soy out if Atlus doesn't get nominated for things, because they probably see me as like a big Atlus show, and I am, to some extent. I think what normally makes me upset about the way the Game Awards pick their nominees is it feels like, we can talk about maybe there's some cultural differences since it's a Western show, and maybe Japanese games get snubbed more, kind of like when Black Artists talked about how they were kind of relegated to certain categories at the Grammys because of different cultural differences, making it a little bit more difficult to get into their type of music over other things. But that's not even what I really want to talk about here. To be clear, I actually think the Game Awards have been getting better over time, every year. I feel like the 2023 Game Awards was probably their strongest showing in relation to the award stuff. I feel like they've been slowly kind of getting better and better, and I've seen the way Geoff Keighley talks about how he takes criticism online. It does seem like to some extent he does care, and because he's the public face of the show and whatnot, I'm assuming he has a lot of pull. So it feels like slowly but surely, things have been kind of improving. Now, that being said, I still have a lot of critiques, even of the most recent one from last year. And because of that, I kind of set my expectations low this year, and I was kind of ready for disappointment. But even though I was expecting disappointment, I still kind of ended up disappointed. It might not be for the reasons you think, though. Let's get into the nominees, and I think I'll tell you why I have this feeling of disappointment. So let's go for really the most important category, I think. First, Game of the Year, and that has Astro Bot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring's DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. So I'll put my cards on the table, okay? I'm a big JRPG guy. I'm certainly a big Atlus mark in particular. So maybe I have my biases. Maybe I have the certain games I want to see represented more, or the certain companies that I kind of cling to more. But I actually don't hate this Game of the Year lineup. I feel like people were like really hard on like, hey, Atlus is like going super hard this year. They're gonna have like 3 Game of the Year nominees between P3R, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and Metaphor. But I actually don't mind there just being one, and while I'm very partial to Vengeance in particular, so I kind of wanted to see that one, I haven't beat Metaphor to be fair yet. I'm fine with seeing Metaphor up here. It's definitely the safest pick as well because of how really unexpectedly popular the game became. I actually think 1 is fine, because what I really have the biggest issue with in the Game Awards isn't the lack of Japanese game representation, Game of the Year and whatnot, besides like maybe the safest of picks like Elden Ring. It's not seeing, the games I like represented enough, or not seeing the Persona games win or whatever. Hey, P5 did win a few awards back in 2017, right? So, my biggest issue is always the lack of variety in nominees. And in 2023, like I said, it was, I think, their best showing yet. There was still a big lack in variety, but 2023 was a slower year. This year has been really big for games. Like, I feel like this year there is no shortage of Game of the Year contenders and just amazing games really throughout almost every genre. I don't know if, like, did rhythm game fans eat this year? Maybe. But, like, if you're a fan of video games in general, I would think there's something here that you would like. Helldivers got really popular. Obviously, games like the Paper Mario remake, even though this is a remake, that got a lot of people into to actually understand what makes the original game so good. A lot of remakes this year, actually, now that I'm looking at it. But like a Dragon, JRPG fans in particular, I think ate a lot. But there was this big roguelike in Balatro. Fighting game fans ate really hard with Tekken and the Undying Birth game and whatnot. There was a lot, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like the lack of variety in nominees every single year at the Game Awards just makes me a little upset, because it feels like they pick the same 3 games, and typically they're the safest picks too, and they just nominate them between half the categories. And unfortunately, I think statistically, I have to accept that it's kind of happened again this year. Like I said, last year there was still kind of some issues, but it was a slower year, so I give them a bit of a pass, more so anyways, for things like Baldur's Gate 3 getting 9 nominations, Alan Wake 2 getting 8, Marvel Spider-Man 2 getting 8. This year, I feel like they have less excuses with the huge variety of games that were, that just came out this year and were very well received. Like if I search Astro Bot here, it's up for 7 different awards. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is up for, Jesus Christ. Oh wait, Final Fantasy 14 is being counted in this, but 4, 5, what is this? 6 awards here. It's weird. Wikipedia says 7. Are they lying to me? Metaphor is up for 6. Like, there's still a large amount of games that are like just be nominated for like half the categories. So maybe not literally half, because obviously it wouldn't fit some of these, but like basically every category it could possibly fit the criteria for, it's being nominated for, even if it doesn't fit the criteria for it, actually, now that I think about it. I'm saying that specifically because games like Silent Hill 2, which have, I think, 5 nominations, for some reason is under Best Action Adventure. Now, I haven't played Silent Hill 2 myself, but I know a good amount about it. I'm decently knowledgeable on it from an outsider perspective. I don't think you'd call it an action-adventure game. And I know that a lot of the fans wouldn't, because I saw a lot of the fans who were upset that it was an action-adventure because it doesn't really fit this category. I mean, I guess technically there's kind of action, maybe there's an adventure, but this very obviously isn't the type of game you're thinking of when you're thinking action-adventure. It's very much more so a survival horror game. Like, even Wikipedia obviously puts it under the survival horror genre. I don't really know anyone who wouldn't put it under this genre. So it feels like we're really just stretching a few really safe picks to be the nominees for everything, and I do think that this point really can't be argued stronger than if we do look at the Atlas releases this year. So if we look at just the Atlas games, and this is an Atlas channel after all, so of course we're kind of gonna zone in on this one for the video here. If we look at the Atlas releases, we had this year Persona 3 Reload, Metaphor ReFantazio, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. We'll count Unicorn Overlord. I think this is only published by Atlas, but fuck it. And the Episode Aegis DLC for Persona 3 Reload. And by the way, we know Episode Aegis could be nominated just based on criteria, because a DLC is up for Game of the Year right now. Not that I'm saying it should be. I probably wouldn't nominate it for anything either, but I'm just saying it technically should be within the running. Now, between all of these games, right? What do you think got nominated for an award? Metaphor was the safest one, so I absolutely expected this to be the one up for Game of the Year. I expected it to be up for, maybe 1 or 2 others. It's definitely the safest of picks, but Persona 3 Reload, that's a game with a huge history. Remakes are also able to be nominated, as you see by Silent Hill 2's remake being nominated for a bunch of different awards as well. We showed that earlier. I can't find it. There it is. There's one. And I mean, what better place to put it with a game that is so known for its narrative under Best Narrative? You can put it right beside the other remake of Silent Hill 2, right? Or even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, also technically kind of a remake, but yeah. I mean, why not put it up for this? Why not put it up for some category? So I feel like Reload could come home with 1 or 2. I feel like Vengeance could definitely be in Best RPG at least. I mean, the vanilla version of SMT5 was nominated for Best RPG of the year it came out. I don't think it won, but it is what it is. And, Unicorn Overlord, I'm not really expecting it to maybe win one. It's not the biggest game in the world, but, it could be up for an award. Out of all of these games, what do you think got nominated? I'll start with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. This game got nominated for nothing. Persona 3 Reload got nominated for, despite being the most popular Atlas release this year, maybe Metaphor's bigger. Anyways, it got nominated for nothing. Unicorn Overlord actually got nominated for 1, and then Metaphor got nominated for fucking 6 awards. This is my problem. I understand people would probably argue with me and go, well, you know, if it really deserves to be nominated for 6 awards, then, you know, it really should be. But not only do I think that's kind of unrealistic and insane, but I feel like just from a... And I know this isn't brought into consideration when you're judging this, I would assume anyways. But like, this lack of variety makes it definitely seem like the judges need... We need a panel of jury or whatever, whoever the fuck bring these games to the forefront here to be nominated. We need way more variety in the people we're asking. I wouldn't want to put it up to a popular vote and have the people decide who's nominated, because then you just have the same problem of the most popular games winning. But, man, the Game Awards jury, I did think they were getting better, and maybe they still are, but, like, man, we still have a ways to go, huh? Like, there is so much, so many games that are dominating half the categories. It is the same 3 games dominating half of this or maybe same 5 if I'm being fair, but like, goddamn. Astro Bot is up for 7 nominations. Rebirth is up for 7. Metaphor is up for 6. Balatro is up for 5. Silent Hill 2 is up for 5, and then we just keep going down the list. But like, there are some games that are like so oddly missing. If you want to hone in on the Atlas stuff, if we go to best, where is it? Best, somewhere around here. Hold on, you're hiding from me. Hold on, I'll search it. Best score in music, right, which should be a category, by the way, that Atlas has on lock most of the time, and they did get nominated for it, but it was Metaphor. Again, for one of its 6 nominations up here. I don't get it. For starters, if you want to argue Metaphor is the best Atlas soundtrack, fine, right? I disagree, probably. I haven't heard everything in Metaphor, but I have just listened to the OST and, of course, played a decent chunk of the game so far. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has an incredible soundtrack. Should probably be nominated for it. I would put it over Metaphor. I would probably also put it maybe over some of these other games. I'm not super sure, but because I'm trying to kind of remove how much I've listened to that OST over everything else here, but I feel like it deserves it. But just on a level of how, like, if we're talking about pushing the game forward and, you know, being outstanding, I guess outstanding music, inclusive of store, original song, licensed soundtrack, whatever, right? If we're talking about innovation, which I guess they're kind of blowing my spot here, because it doesn't specifically say anything about innovation in this category, but I know for a fact it does in some others. Things like best game direction, best art direction, saying technical achievement or whatever. If we're gonna take those types of things into consideration, which I think is fair, we should in an award show, we should take into account just how much of a marvel it is and how much how incredible it was. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance has 42 battle themes. Like that is an insane amount. And not just on the technical aspect of that being incredible, they fucking go hard. These songs are incredible. I adore Vengeance's OST. If you have not listened to it, I like the original games too, but the Vengeance OST, the things they added in Vengeance, please do yourself a favor and listen to this soundtrack. It is probably one of the most underrated Atlas soundtracks out there. I would put it up there as like probably top 3 Atlas OSTs that I've listened to. It is incredible. Yet it is entirely missing from this list, so Geoff Keighley could once again nominate the same 3 fucking games that he's in every other fucking category, like Astro Bot, Rebirth, Metaphor, Silent Hill 2. Like, okay, I get it. The games are good. Thank you. There are other games that came out this year. And I'm not the only person saying this. Okay, people have been way more harsh on this year's nominations than I have, okay? I see there's been a bunch of tweets that have blown up saying things like, oh, well, how is a card game in the running over all these other games or whatever? People kind of did the same thing to Stray when it was nominated, I think, 2 years ago? Now, I think that's a little unfair. Everything can be an equal piece of art, okay? It doesn't have to be, like, something that's, like, going up for, oh my god, Metaphor has this, it's like an 80-hour game, and it has this crazy story, and Rebirth, oh my god, it's a remake of one of the best games, and Elden Ring's DLC, it's incredible, right? People have said the same thing about a DLC being nominated, to be fair, but I personally think it should also be fine if a DLC is up, as long as it can win it on its own merits, you know, and apparently the DLC is great. maybe it can. So I think that's fair as well. I know there'd be a lot of blowback if it wins, though. Same with Balatro. But not everything has to be like this, like what we perceive, and we have these preconceptions of like games that are game of the year, and they have to be, you know, exactly kind of what we'd expect. These story-oriented games, or these really great Soulsborne games with these gameplay-oriented. Like we can just have like this like nice card game roguelike. That should be in equal running, I think. I don't. Like, people don't even care about Astro Bot, and that's like a cutesy little game, but apparently a very good cutesy game. If this is a very good roguelike, maybe it deserves being up here. I still have a problem with Balatro being nominated, though, in general, because it's still in 5 different awards, which I still think is a bit fucking much. And I know there's other people who feel the same way I do, again, not just because of all the tweets that are just criticizing the Game Awards from all angles, but I ratioed the fuck out of the Game Awards account, okay? Because this tweet they did, tweeting out the nominees for Best Score in Music, I think got 779 likes. I quote tweeted it with this video, kind of glazing the Vengeance OST. I'll play a little bit of it here. It's about the regular battle theme. It is a banger, I will admit. This tweet got 9,000 likes, okay? And it deserves it, because it's a banger. I did steal this video from YouTube, to be fair. I did not make it, but you know, I had to, okay? The propaganda stops at nothing. But yeah, we definitely, Geoff Keighley, I know you saw this, okay? Bring me on stage, give me a live microphone, okay? I can still save your event. And edge on stage. You've promised me years and years now that you would edge on stage. Nobody understands what I'm talking about, but you better edge this year. The Game Awards 2024, okay? And what I wrote with the tweet was, of course, reminder that Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance made 42 battle themes, just so Geoff Keighley could entirely ignore it and pick the same 3 games for every category. And I'm right! It's the whole point, it's the whole problem I have with the Game Awards in general, and I feel like we're progressing backwards, because at least when you did it last year, okay, it wasn't like the biggest year for gaming. I followed this year in gaming. There's a lot of shit, like a lot! Why is there only fucking one Atlas game up for, I think Unicorn Overlord is like up for sim strategy. Thanks, I guess. Like why is there so little variety every year? Am I really expected to believe that like these games are so amazing that they can like sweep every single fucking category? Like, not that they're not amazing, not that they don't have great art direction or great narratives and shit. I understand that's what contributes to them even being in the running for Game of the Year, but like, I just know of so many other games that, like, if these games can get nominated, I know there are other games that can get nominated. And they're just not here. Probably because they're not popular enough, or maybe culturally they're a little bit more difficult to get into. Or I don't know. I don't know the exact reasoning, but clearly there's something with the jury that make them all think that, like, the same 3 fucking games deserve half the awards. It's really annoying. Like, I wouldn't want the solution to be just arbitrarily going back and going like, huh, there's a lot of games that, like, totally just won almost every award, huh? That's weird. But, like, one, I think they're, if I had to guess, and I could be wrong, there's probably some sort of subconscious bias wanting you to kind of pick the most safe options, for lack of a better term. And I just feel like I don't know what the jury looks like, or, you know, the people on it, but I really do feel like there is always going to be this, like, for example, again, and I support there being a jury system to pick the nominees, but if you were to pick a jury system of, like, me and my friends, okay? Me and my 9 friends, the Game Awards would probably look significantly different, the nominees from this, right? And I'm not saying me and my 9 friends are the best picks for it either, but I'm just saying the people you pick are very important to to what awards get, what nominees get picked for the categories, and you know, how often, how frequently the same games show up. And I feel like we're just lacking a lot of variety within the jury, because it just seems like they're like, yeah, metaphor, give it art direction, narrative, then this, give Rebirth half the fucking awards, if Neil Druckmann releases a game, just give him everything. Like, there's gotta be some sort of solution. And maybe there's also another argument to be made that maybe these categories just aren't the most, just aren't the best. Maybe we could overhaul the categories, or maybe we just need some new ones too. There's definitely some things that I think could be improved upon. Like, we have Best Debut Indie Game and Best Independent Game, and if Balatro doesn't get both, because it's up for both, so is Animal Well, to be fair. Yeah, Animal Well might win it. Like, do we really need both of these categories when they look so similar? Like, this is, I guess it just exists to give the debut studio that wouldn't get nominated here because they just didn't, a chance at winning something, but man, I don't know. And I had some people tell me, I can understand being mad about Reload, alright, in relation to it being snubbed. But are people really going to be mad that a re-release complete edition didn't get peaked? Where was this energy when it literally got snubbed on release? For starters, Shin Megami Tensei 5 did get nominated on release for an arguably even bigger category than score and music in just Best RPG. It did lose, but all I'm asking for is a nomination here. We're not even going to talk about the winners yet because we don't know what they are yet. Come back in December and maybe we'll talk about it. And maybe Persona 6 will be revealed at the Game Awards. Who knows? Maybe we'll just have that to talk about. We don't have to talk about any of this bullshit anymore. So I don't even know what that's referring to. It did get nominated, and maybe it should have. But what was Best Music this year? Near Cyberpunk, Deathloop. Really? Deathloop? Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy, Artful Escape. I would probably put it either on equal or better, equally or even higher than I would score these games' OSTs. So yeah, it probably should have been in Best Score of Music too. I don't know. But like, then it's kind of trying to put down things, being like, are we really mad that a re-release expanded edition didn't get picked? For one, okay. There are multiple remakes, like Rebirth and Silent Hill 2, in the running for categories this year, and they have been in previous years too. So that's one thing. Arguably, a complete edition like Vengeance adds more original content than these games do. A game like Silent Hill 2 is just remaking the content of the original game. Vengeance is actively adding new content to the game. So that's one thing. Two, there's a fucking DLC in the running, so I want to hear shit about it, okay? This is basically an expanded game, but with less steps. And three, and this is arguably my most compelling point, complete editions can be nominated for Game of the Year, or sorry, for at least for different categories, and probably Game of the Year too. Persona 5 Royal was nominated for Best Role-Playing Game. Specifically Royal, because Persona 5 was nominated back in 2017 as well. So what do you mean? Vengeance absolutely can. And by the way, Vengeance is a hell of a lot more expansive than Royal, and Royal was already a pretty expansive expansion, right? So yeah, I'm sorry. This holds no weight when you look at literally all the precedent and the current nominees in this year. Sorry. I also have people saying things like, because, okay, I will admit, the Atlas shill, what do you call it, allegations came after me, okay? Guy who, I assume wants is supposed to be the word here. Guy who wants Atlas games nominated in every category, and guy who wants generic action game nominated in every category are two sides of the same coin. I responded, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't be so greedy to insist that an Atlas game be nominated for Best Soundtrack. That would never happen, especially in 2024. They would never nominate an Atlas game for Best Score this year. Nope, not at TGA. How dare I insist they do. And somehow, with the way I wrote this, some people still have the issue of picking up on the sarcasm. But the reason I'm being so sarcastic about it, despite the fact this guy's saying that it somehow reinforces their point, the reason I'm saying all that is because I'm not even saying I want it nominated with Metaphor. I'm saying in place of Metaphor, you could have nominated it. I think it's a better OST, straight up. Maybe that take will change eventually, but right now I do. And it would certainly, at the very least, be better for the variety of the fucking, of the award show. And plus, again, Vengeance had 42 battle themes alone. How is that not a Marvel worthy of nomination? I do not understand. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not hearing any of this. The point is, I think the awards this year definitely could have been better in a lot of ways. But with that being said, why don't I go through and for the first time, I haven't voted yet in the Game Awards, but you know what? We might as well let our voice be known, even though I think how much does our vote even matter here? 10% consideration is taken from public fan voting, with the other 90% being the jury. So, really, I don't know how much this is going to matter. I don't mind them doing it like this, though. Again, public fan voting would just bring in the issue of just the really popular games winning everything. I'm going to try to the best of my ability to vote. I haven't played every game here, and I'm familiar with most of them at least, which is why I'm still somewhat confident I'll be able to vote in every category. And even if I'm not confident I can vote in it, come on, who lets that stop them? I'll vote with no information on any of the games. I'll click on the picture that looks coolest. Just like right now, where I don't watch esports, but I'm voting for Navi. I don't know why. They just spoke to me. We're gonna go in reverse order here. Okay, who cares about any? I don't know. 33. That's a funny name. Here goes all my credibility. Best esports game. All of these games are terrible. I'd rather play CS2 than any of the other ones. What's this even based on? For the game has delivered the best overall esports experience. None of them. Content creator of the year. My honest reaction. I don't know. We'll vote for Queso. He's like the funny Zoomer TikTok guy. Whatever. Most anticipated game. My most anticipated here. It probably is GTA 6. I will admit. It's the normie take, but you know, it is what it is. Best adaptation. Now I get to pretend like I've watched any of these. We're gonna vote for Arcane because it made a terrible video game look good. Best multiplayer. I really didn't like Jamboree that much. I don't really want to give it to Black Ops 6. Tekken 8 is alright. Warhammer, it's very particular. I'm gonna go for Helldivers. You know, it's kind of a beautiful story of how it got so popular too. Best sports racing? I don't know, give it to the fucking wrestling game. Best sim strategy? Alright, here we go. Now I'm not gonna beat the Atlas Show allegations. I'm gonna vote for Unicorn Overlord. Not my fault, okay? Not my fault. They should have... Actually, this category is actually probably fine in terms of nominations. It is my fault. Best family. Best game you can play with your family. Appropriate for family play. Only one multiplayer game, funnily enough. I don't know. Probably Astro Bot is probably the easiest pick here. Best fighting. I'm gonna give it to the Dragon Ball game. You know, the anime games they're difficult to do right, and I think that one did it right. I think it did. I feel like I've voted really popular takes too. I feel like for the ones I know. I feel like these are probably all gonna be the projected winners still. At least in my opinion. Best RPG? Okay. This is actually really hard, I won't lie. Man, this is probably the hardest category actually. There's a lot of good picks. I think I'm between the last three in particular. Rebirth, I think, was much better than the original remake. Not that that was bad, but Rebirth really, I think, went in its own direction even more. And I don't know what the fuck's really going on in the story, but it's pretty cool. It plays really well. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, though, arguably the best Yakuza game. A lot of people would say anyways. I don't know if I know enough to really say that, but that being said, why is there like a random underscore here? I'm gonna vote Metaphor, but I could see any of them. Atlas Show, once again, coming in. Which is funny, I don't even know how much I like Metaphor. I like it. I don't know if I like it as much as the other games, though. Or, as much as, like, yeah, even the other games Atlas releases here. Best action adventure. I mean, Silent Hill 2 isn't an action adventure, but it's probably the best game here. What a shitty category. Best action. We're gonna give it to the Souls-like. Yep, we're giving it to the Souls-like. Actually, no, I lied. We're giving it to Stellar Blade. We're giving it to the Stellar Blade. The game that is the best bastion of culture war. Because nobody on either side can make good arguments. Best VR or AR? Okay, I actually know none of these games. How many liberals does it take to screw in a light bulb? We're going for Batman. Best mobile game? Oh, here comes the Balatro sweep. I mean, I'm definitely not giving it to these two. I'll just give it to Balatro. Best debut indie? Probably also Balatro. Hey, best indie's coming up next. I wonder what we're gonna give it to. This is the problem. I've voted for the same game 3 times in a row now. Can we get 4? Oh, on this category. Best community support. Man, have you seen how well the Baldur's Gate 3 developers have really kept up that game and kept the pricing fair and not fallen into like a DLC trap or anything like that? I'm giving it to Baldur's. Best ongoing? Well, I hate most of these games. We're gonna give it to FF14, I think. Games for Impact. Yeah, I played these. Yep, that's why I'm giving it to Hellblade 2. Innovation in accessibility. By the way, okay, if you think I'm hypocritical for not playing all these, alright, I'm not on the jury, and I wouldn't put myself on the jury, to be clear. Actually, I would, but I'd just play more games then if I was on the jury. I would be like, I'm gonna play everything. We're gonna have infinite money. Do you think they get the games for free too? Or they like, probably, right? They probably, I feel like, maybe. I don't know, actually. Innovation and accessibility. Okay, so specifically based on, pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by a wider audience. I would think the Ubisoft game has it. I'm not going to pretend I have an in-depth understanding about the accessibility features in this game, because I don't. But my vote counts just as much as the people who do. It's called democracy, baby. Best voice acting. I'm finally giving it to the... Why don't they put their roles here? I don't get it. I'm just gonna give it to the Rebirth one and move on and pretend I never voted. Best audio design. Oh, I feel like it's gotta go to Silent Hill 2. They did a really good job of keeping the atmosphere from the original. Best score and music. Okay. If I'm being honest, I've never been the biggest on the FF7 remake OST. And I kind of feel similarly about Rebirth. I just feel like the original game just had much more interesting pieces. You know, it's really a good example, I think, of proving that having all this technology and having, you know, way more ways of doing things and way more accessible and just, quite frankly, an easier time making music, it doesn't always mean that you'll make better music, you know? The simplicity of the original FF7's soundtrack and every song being able to breathe the way it does is really, I think, part of what makes that OST so great. And it just makes it even more incredible. It was made on the goddamn... It was put in a goddamn PS1 game, right? That being said, I'm probably gonna give it... Oh man, I don't... Like, Silent Hill 2, I understand why this is here, because the way it uses its music is really effective. I actually would probably say it's more effective than a game like Metaphor, or Astro Bot, or Stellar Blade. Yeah, I'm gonna vote Silent Hill 2. It's not my favorite OST here, but if I'm thinking specifically in terms of the way it uses it, I think it's the most impressive. I think all of these games miss the mark a little on putting them in more interesting ways. From what I understand anyways. Best art direction. I've been pretty critical of the UI in Metaphor. I actually think it's a little overbearing. I think the stylish UIs were done better in P3R and P5R. Because those games have really stylish OSTs, but I don't think they sacrifice usability for it. While I think the Metaphor menus and whatnot are still very usable, I think it's the first time I felt a little overwhelmed and felt things were a little cluttered, for lack of a better term. I don't think the other games suffered from it. The art itself is beautiful, though. I have very little criticism of the actual art itself. I just don't know if it was included in the best way. And then games like Elden Ring, I think, are so effortlessly beautiful. When they're not like super bombastic in your face most of the time, but it's all the little subtleties that they do really well, and I think that's why I'm gonna give it to Elden Ring on this one. Best narrative. Fentanzio. Bro, why did they handwrite all of it? First one an underscore, this one Fentanzio. It's not... You add an extra N. What are you doing? Look, I'd probably give it to Infinite Wealth if I knew more about it, to be honest. This one is one where I'm only giving it to Metaphor. Oh, actually, fuck it. I'm giving it to Silent Hill 2. Fuck that, actually. Hold on. I could give it to Infinite Wealth if I just knew more, I'll admit. Yeah, Silent Hill 2, I mean, it's a great story. What can I say? Metaphors I like. I don't know if I like it as much as everyone else. We'll have to see. I don't have a final take on it, so come back to me in 2 months. Best game direction. Outstanding creative vision, innovation, and game direction and design. I actually think Metaphor, in terms of its direction, is actually probably some of the more out of its like comfort zone stuff Hashino has done. I definitely think that I always felt that the Persona games, for example, had a little bit of issue with keeping, like, in terms of the writing and stuff, I've always liked them, so I still don't mind, like, all the story scenes and whatnot. I listen to all of them, I watch all of them, I read all of them, but I felt like they could always be more interesting from the way they do the composition and whatnot. Like, I always felt like it was very basic. You're typically at, like, one camera angle throughout the entire scene. It's not the most interesting, the foreground, and like there just isn't that many interesting visuals going on. You really are just supposed to be like, it's basically like a visual novel, you know, but just with 3D models, where most visual novels I don't think typically have them. I think Metaphor was one that finally used, like, hey, we are a 3D game with 3D models and 3D environments. Why don't we use that a little bit more? I think SMT5 also did a great job of doing that. Different director, though. But I think Metaphor is, like, really a big step in the right direction for Hashino and whatnot. On the other hand, Balatro has cards. Now, Balatro was a very interesting game, incorporating jokers in the poker, in poker, which was already a daring idea, and then also making that into like a roguelike game, was very, what an interesting idea. In terms of innovation, I actually feel like compared to all these other games, this might be the most innovative in its genre, because what other game is like this, you know? There's probably been other roguelike card games. I'll admit I'm not the most familiar with that, but I don't know if there's anything that has reach the level of Balatro. I feel like I would have at least heard of it if it did. That's definitely the reason the game got as popular as it did. Astro Bot, though. 3D platformers, you know, we need more of them now. We do. Astro Bot was able to hit it on all marks and incorporate like all these other IPs and be like a big love letter to Sega. That was really cool. That being said, considering where it is in its genre and what it did for all its contemporaries, I really don't think the Elden Ring DLC or Black Myth should be here, if I'm being honest, compared to probably some other games you could put here. I don't even know if I'd put it above a game like Silent Hill 2, for example, even though that was a remake. The way that the direction was very much going kind of in their own direction in a lot of ways, I think was a lot more impressive than games like this. I'm gonna give it to Balatro. Sue me. The card game will win. And then Game of the Year. My Game of the Year is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Where's that? I don't see him. Where'd he go? I'll probably end up giving it to... I probably... Fuck. I'm probably gonna give it to Metaphor, and you can call me an Atlas show until the end of time. Sue me, motherfucker. Alright, this combined, like, so many of the best ideas of Atlas, and while I don't know if they're necessarily at their best in this game, in some respects it definitely is, if you go into the weeds of things. But, like, this big combination, I don't think it falls into, like, Jack of all trades, master of none, you know? I think it did competently deliver a lot of these mechanics we know from Atlas games and all these different dungeon design philosophies, even from games like Estrian Odyssey, which was surprising. I think it incorporated all those things in a way where, how could I not give it Game of the Year, you know? If I love Atlas games and you like Atlas games, I feel like you're probably going to come out of Metaphor probably liking it, unless you just really don't like the story or something. Anyways, that's the way I voted this year, okay? Did you vote this year in the most important... I think this is the most important time to vote in November, right? I can't think of anything else in November where there would have been dire consequences if things went a certain way and then people didn't vote and it did. I can't think of anything like that, so probably just Game of the Year here. The Game Awards. If you want to listen to me talk more about the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance soundtrack like I have and glaze it so much, I'm probably going to have a video coming out soon, actually ranking all the songs in the game. So that was, or sorry, all the battle themes, not every song. All the battle themes in the game, all 41, because they just added the 42nd in the new update, and I recorded the video before that. Maybe I'll edit it in or something, talking about it. I probably will do that. So that's coming out too, so subscribe if you want to see that. Speaking of the Game Awards, I will be live streaming it when it happens on December... one of the days in December. And there are some leaks. Now, to be fair, December 12th, there you go. There are some leaks suggesting that Persona 6 might get announced here, but there are other leakers who have said, no, it's not getting announced here. If it does, I think the leaker also said summer 2025 release date. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't set your expectations high. I'm only telling you to bait you into watching my stream. I stream on YouTube and on twitch.tv/Screenments. Follow the Twitch, subscribe to the YouTube, be there on December 12th. I'm probably going to do like a 12-hour stream leading up to it and then on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Probably going to have a lot of good friends of the stream on. Yeah. Also, if you want extra content from this video, I did talk to Incompetency, good friend of the stream Incompetency. If you watch my channel, you might know him. about the Game Awards when it happened. And I kind of said I said a lot of things I said in the video, but also a little bit more. That's going to be on my Patreon, patreon.com/Screenments. So subscribe to that, follow that, whatever it's called. Pledge to that. Cringe. If you want to see that. And I will catch you in the next one. Geoff Keighley, Edge on stage, goddammit. You owe me. I want to see you Edge.